in the budget world for firearms, there's a lot of firearms for a variety of tasks. I want to talk about one task that can be filled with a very inexpensive rimfire rifle, and that is just basic survival in the woods. So, there's a lot of talk about what type of firearm would work great for survival in the woods. There's a lot of different opinions. One firearm that does work well is the 22 rimfire, and that can be said in any type of environment that you can see in the United States and in North America in general. The 22 is an excellent tool for basic survival. When you're talking basic survival, you want to look at what type of game can you get most efficiently, and in a lot of areas that's going to be small game. You can get bigger game, but the more plentiful, it seems like in my experience growing up in Alaska, living in the mountains of Montana right now, and just being in different areas, different types of environment, it seems like small game is going to be the easier to get. So having a 22 caliber rifle that is well made and accurate and reliable will definitely benefit you. The muzzle report isn't too loud. You can carry a lot of rounds in a small package, which is evidenced right here. These are two 100 round packs right here. This is Winchester 40 grain, and here's a CCI Mini Mag 40 grain. And they're both just a round nose ammo, full metal jacket type. Some of the best 22 ammo in my opinion. There's a lot of different good 22 ammo, but I tend to go for the 40 grainers, the round nose. So, and the copper plated round nose at that. So this right here, this is a Savage 22. It's a semi-automatic, and you could pick these up for right around $100, $120. And it just kind of varies. It's going to vary a little bit in your area, depending on what you got. This one right here I picked up, and it didn't have a optic on it. This optic is different. This is a Simmons 4X 22 mag optic, and right there. This is something that you can pick up at Walmart and such, and then this is a Troy sling that I put on it. But it's a very basic semi-automatic rifle. I've had these before in the past with iron sights and whatnot, and they're great for shooting gophers and small game and all that good stuff. This one is no exception. This one is threaded. It did have a type of muzzle brake on there, but all it did was just... it didn't really do anything. It's a 22 caliber, so there's really no need for a brake. It just added weight to the end of the gun, so I took it off and just put the thread protector on, and that's perfectly fine. The gun itself has detachable box style magazine right here. Very simple single stack box magazine that works just fine. I am going to get another magazine or two at some point for this, but I'm just not in a hurry for that right now. So keep that in mind. If you have a magazine fed 22 like this, have some extra magazines. Make sure to keep good track of them. This can function without a magazine though, so in dire needs, if your magazine is broken, this can function as a single shot if need be. You just open the bolt up, lock it to the rear, manually load the round, and it'll still fire. That's just kind of in an emergency type situation. You can still use the gun. Everything is pretty solid on this as far as the trigger. It's a good trigger. The Savage, in my opinion, has always been kind of a good, reliable design. I like the Ruger 1022s. I like a lot of the different 22s out there, but I seem to always gravitate to the old Savages. That's just me. That's why I gravitated to this thing. And as far as just the general balance of the gun, it's very lightweight. The scope mounts here, it came with mounting provisions to be able to mount a scope on there, so no issues. And you can change the mount out to more of a typical rail type, as far as I understand. So if you want to put something else different on there other than a scope, if you want to put like a red dot or something on there, you certainly can. This is just a standard non-illuminated 4X. It's very simple. So I would be kind of at a disadvantage if I'm using this at nighttime, or low light. If I didn't want to shine a light on something, I would be at a little bit of a disadvantage, but that's okay. Overall accuracy, It's about as accurate as any 22 rimfire. This isn't some type of competition gun, but when you're thinking about small game and whatnot, like squirrels, gopher, any type of rabbit, stuff like that, you can track them, get pretty close to them. You're not going to be doing any long range shooting with something like this in a survival situation, or I should say, you don't need to do any long range shooting. Typically squirrels, even stuff like if you're in an area that has like grouse or whatnot in the trees, you could pick them off. In Alaska, growing up in Alaska, the birds would fly up and fly into the trees or into tall bushes or whatnot, and it was really easy to pick them off with 22 caliber firearms. And that's just a good thing. You don't really spoil the meat when you're shooting the 22 caliber at smaller game. Even if you hit them with a torso shot, you're not going to ruin a whole lot of the meat, and that's critical. So overall, I really like these Savage guns. They're very well balanced, and they're very inexpensive, and I encourage people to have some in the inventory. I know right now 22 ammo along with all the other ammo is hard to come by depending on your location. I haven't seen any 22 ammo available for sale around here in a while. I'm kind of hoarding all the 22 ammo that I have, and it's just kind of sad, but it is what it is. The the ammunition, the type of rifle, I encourage everybody to have one. It's something that's inexpensive when the ammo is in stock. It's a good practice gun, so you can get out, do a lot of target practice with. You can train a lot for new shooters. It's great to teach them the basics of marksmanship with a rifle. That way you can focus on the fundamentals of marksmanship and they don't have to worry about recoil so much. So a very young shooter, it's a great deal for these. And it's just a good secondary rifle to have with you in your toolkit. If you're a prepper, survivalist, what have you, it's always good to have a standalone 22 rifle to use for whatever uses that you deem necessary. As far as modifications to this, the accessory market, there is an accessory market out there. I've seen some that have been modded. If that's your thing, you can modify these things. I believe they have some different stocks. There's some different things you can put on it. With a rifle like this, I don't really see a big use in modifying it too much for me personally. But if that's your thing, there are some aftermarket stuff out there, so that's something to think about as well. Certainly not as much as the 1022 market. The Ruger 1022 kind of has the lion's share, it seems like, of that. So if you're really looking to get a tricked out 22 rifle, you might be better off going the Ruger 1022 route, because those are excellent rifles as well. Just from what I've seen and just with my experience, there's just more available. As far as takedown, ease of use, it's pretty user-friendly. This thing is pretty reliable when dirty. You do have to take care of it. Even in a survival situation, you have to take care of your tools as much as possible. But even when dirty, this thing will still function. I do suggest, for the max reliability, use the good 40 grain ammo. Winchester's pretty good. The Super X stuff is pretty good. I prefer my best offering, I think, what I recommend is the CCI Mini Mags. In 22, the copper plated round nose 40 grain, these are great. They provide decent penetration. They're great for target use, flanking, all that good stuff, but they're also really good for taking down small game. So that's what I suggest. There are a lot of different other variations of 22 long rifle, and people have their favorites, but what I've found in rifles like these, just a good basic 40 grain copper plated round nose standard 22 long rifle will work really well, and they're good quality, especially the CCIs. I don't run across a lot of duds with these. They're pretty consistent as far as the quality of the rounds. With some of the cheap 22 ammo, you can run into dead rounds and whatnot, and that's just is what it is. But you don't really want to run into that in a survival type situation, so you want to get the best you can. And for me, the CCIs just seem to be very consistent. So the sling, just standard 2-point sling. This is a Troy sling that I had. You can put whatever sling you want on here. The stock, if you want, you can put some stuff in the stock. It is hollow, so if you want to add something to it, you certainly can. I'm just kind of giving you a quick close-up here. This Simmons optic seems to work really, really well with this rifle. It's a 4X fixed, and I could talk about this optic in a different video, but it's a good basic optic that works really well for this. So for this, one thing to note too, for this Savage, the 64, you only want to have the 22 long rifle only. I know there are some guns out there like bolt actions and whatnot and single shots that you can have 22 long rifle or 22 rifle, 22 short, all that good stuff. And that's kind of a good thing to note if you want some variance in ammo. But for semi-automatics like this, typically it's just one chambering. This is 22 long rifle. So there it is. Just wanted to talk about that real quick. It's a good, if you're really looking to round out your firearms collection, or if you're a really big outdoorsman and you're thinking, okay, what do I do here? You know, I'm looking for a good 22. Then check out the Savage, the Model 64s specifically. They do have some different models as well. I believe they even have a breakdown version, which I'd like to get my hands on. They have some older versions. I believe there are some with some wood stocks out there. So if the classic is your thing, I believe you can find those. They have some with iron sights as well. For the 22, iron sights work good, but I think for a survival rifle with the 22, shooting at really small game that might be on the move, I would probably want a magnified optic of some kind. That's why I threw this 4X fixed on there. I don't have to worry about anything. It's just a basic 4X fixed, so I don't have to worry about manipulating the scope. Just sight it in and go for it. Anyway, enough yammering out of me. Feel free to put your thoughts in below. As always, subscribe, like, all that YouTube spiel, and make sure you guys are staying safe out there.